friends, Jewel back with another video, and I wanted to focus on today on the natal aspect of Sun in conjunct to Neptune. What happens when we see this in the birth chart? So the Sun is our identity, our ego identity, what we want to be seen and appreciated as and for being in the world. It's our vitality, our expression, has a lot to do with showing the early authority figures in our lives, and is the conscious part of ourselves, as opposed to the moon, which is that unconscious part of ourselves. So, Neptune is the original energy of the 12th house and of Pisces. This is where things go to melt into formless bliss. This is where we find spirituality. This is where we find mysteries, the unknown, romance, illusion, delusion. Anything that is implied by non-reality is going to be Neptune. So, it's also sacrifice and service. And how we get ourselves into trouble through our own actions. So when we have these two in an inconjunct angle, and if you don't know anything about inconjunctions, then you should find my video on what is an inconjunction on my other playlist. I think it's aspects in the natal chart, or aspects in astrology. That'll give you more information. I do consider inconjunctions to be major aspects. When I have somebody come to me and they have a tight inconjunction, it is 95% of the time going to be the overriding difficulty in their chart. If you have several, then there are several different things to look at. But they are very weighty. They are as important as conjunctions, squares, oppositions. So a lot of astrologers consider them to be minor aspects, and that is what I was expecting to find, because that's what I was taught and what I was, learned in my training. That is not what I have found. So it is an aspect where two planets don't have any affinity. They have no friendship, they have nothing in common, they don't know how to act with each other, so there's really no communication between the two that is... that is good in the sense that it is successful. So when we have somebody's actual identity meeting the planet of non-identity, because the 12th house is about boundaryless things, and they're in an inconjunct angle, which means they don't get each other. They don't understand what each other is about. They're each acting on their own, in their own right. We really see somebody who tends to weight their personality towards being a self-sacrificer. They really will give anything to be seen as nice when we have this particular inconjunction. Now you have to consider everything, because I'm talking about one thing at a time in these videos, and you could have some other things going on that's going to make somebody, more, have more of a identity or more of a bite to them. But this in itself is really going to contribute to somebody's sun, their ego, to being very sacrificial. So, their ego is very dependent on how others view them, and if they identify them as being caring, martyrs, sacrificing, good, accommodating, forgiving. They want to be seen as nice and good people. So their ego is very much built up by seeing themselves giving to others or helping others or sacrificing for others. And they give themselves away in all of their relationships and in life, because they are really looking to be accepted, they're looking to be loved, they're looking to be viewed as, a caring giver. So they get into relationships where they very much find a dependent, or they find somebody who just can't let them go, or they find somebody who needs them so much that they just can't shake the relationship. It's really, really common to see them get into relationships that they are not happy in, that they're being very much used in, but they are very, very easy to manipulate when we have this particular inconjunction. And authority figures, people that they think have more expression or more vitality, things that represent the sun, if they deem that somebody has more of that than them, they are apt to follow or apt to believe, because they want that, more of that for themselves. So there's a very sacrificial quality to all of their relationships that they get into. And they tell themselves that they are held by the other person's needs, or they have to be there because of this or because of that. That is a lie. No one will die or fall apart if the person with this inconjunction leaves or moves on with their life. But they need to believe that in order to identify with the things of Neptune, with their ego. So they weaken their self-esteem through staying in these relationships that they really, they deserve better. But at the same time, that builds the ego. That is what the identity is based on. So they complain about how they're treated in relationships and how they behave in relationships and who they draw relationships to them, you know, who that is. And that is something that they choose, and something that they choose to stay in, because it facilitates this belief that they are so incredibly, massively important and so good and so forgiving and so understanding that nobody else could do this but them. And they really need to be able to examine that identity and whether or not that is a valid thing for them. Because Neptune is a very unconscious planet. When we have Neptune in a difficult aspect to any planet, we're going to see some amount of fantasy or illusion or difficulty in acknowledging the truth or reality. So people with this aspect really need to grow a backbone by realizing that their selflessness is actually selfishness that disguises itself as being nice and self-sacrificing and helpful in order for them to feed their ego as being that. So they're still ruled by the ego just as much as anybody else. They just don't see it. And they would never, never, never allow you to identify them as selfish. They will fight for that title of selfless. So they really need to redefine who they are. They can still be good and kind and helpful, but they need to live out the higher octave of Neptune, which is the spiritual side of Neptune, not the sacrificing side of Neptune. So this is also an aspect where the physical looks are greatly, not all the time, but very often they're very affected by this particular inconjunction, in that there's a lot of wishing for more beauty, wishing for more glamour. You see a lot of breast jobs on women with this particular aspect. You see a lot of cosmetic surgery because they are really wanting to, bring that identity of Neptune to their sun. Neptune rules Hollywood. It rules film. It rules, gauzy beauty. It's really about illusion, and they really want to live out that illusion in a physical way, or in a way that they actually identify with in the physical, in their physical body. So they do tend to play up their looks. They do tend to have a kind of an earthreal quality to them. And they do kind of have a kind of an element of glamour as well. So it's important for them to enhance the inside, which is the really good part of themselves, because there is this beauty to them that most people don't have, and they can access their higher self more easily than most if they can realize that the lower self, the ego, is disguising itself as the higher self. This is why Neptune contacts are so difficult to understand or to comprehend, because there is an illusion that what we're already doing is what we should be doing, or what we will ultimately be doing. We think that that's going on now. Well, the ego will hide, and it will lie, and it will show up any way it can. And this is one where it shows up in ways that are very elusive. So once they can identify that and see, oh, okay, I don't have to be the giver of everything. I don't have to be the one that does all the everything. I don't have to do all the paying. I don't have to let myself be taken advantage of in social situations. That leads to miracles within them, because they can really become this glamorous, desirable, beautiful person, because other people aren't using them anymore. They aren't depleting their energies, giving themselves away. They are able to really concentrate on building that spiritual ego that can actually, these people can really almost channel their higher selves into their actual daily lives, when they can transcend this idea that sacrifice and giving and being a martyr is being the higher self. It's just not. If it's making you miserable, if it's weakening the people around you, if it is creating dependency, it is not of the higher self. It is of the ego. And the sooner that you can realize that, the sooner you can escape that. And you can achieve real freedom, because Neptune is about loss of identity, loss of the chains that bind. And these people really can become that if they can understand the illusion of what's really going on. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. You can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com. You can find me on Facebook at Truth and Aspect Astrology. And I'll be back with more super cool videos. I think I might do some more natal aspects today and tomorrow, and throw in a few composite aspects in there as well. And try to start wrapping up my Sun through the Sign series as well. That'll be one that I really bit off a lot there. 24 videos. I'll get to it though. And yes, I do private consultation. Email for appointment. I'll be back really soon. Bye-bye.